Hammond City Council Public Hearing Agenda, May 27, 2025, 5:30 p.m. Roll call, please.
Councilman Divatario.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gonzalez.
Present.
Councilman Wells. Councilman Leon.
Present.
Councilman Andrews.
Present. Public hearing item number 1.
An ordinance to approve a request by Unita Gay Andrews to rename East Hoover Street to Holton Hill Lane. The street is located in District 1. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval 3-0. Charles Barsha.
This is one that would originally have been on the council agenda at the last meeting, but there was an issue with the advertisement, so it had to be pushed back to tonight's meeting. As Lisa read, this was reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission and recommended 3-0. It's a simple street renaming, and I believe the representative is here to answer any questions you may have.
Name and city, please.
Unita Gay Andrews.
Anything else you would like to say?
The reason why I requested for the name change, my grandparents started their life on 614 Hoover Street, which is not there anymore. It's the parking lot to Mount Vernon. My grandfather was a businessman. He owned a trucking company, a moving company, and he raised all 5 of his children alone after my grandmother died at 26 years old. My grandfather has managed to run a successful farm off of the Marsh Road, and he left us over 500 acres. So I think that's the reason why we requested it. Because our family wouldn't be here if they wouldn't have started their life at 614 Hoover Street.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anyone else? Name and city, please.
Beverly, Brumfield, Maryland, 609 and a half East Hoover Street, Hammond, Louisiana, 70401. I received a letter, the recent letter, to be here today on May 15th. Anyway, this process was started without my knowledge. Therefore, I addressed it with the Planning and Zoning, and when I did, they had already scheduled a public hearing. I brought it to her attention because she notified my sister, Dorothy Brumfield, but she didn't, failed to notify me. So upon that, I called her and I explained what I had seen with the signs in the neighborhood, in the grassy areas. You could barely read it with red writing. And if I hadn't stopped and got out and took a picture of it, I wouldn't have known that they were trying to rename the street. Finally, she said, I requested that, I told her I objected and that I was not notified and I wanted my letter, which she has never mailed the initial letter, but I did receive 2 letters after that for the prior meeting on May 13th and for today. And for that, I felt that they shouldn't have proceeded to move forward in the planning and zoning when all parties hadn't been notified. And it's a state law, I think, that everybody needs to be notified when there's a renaming of a street. I've lived there since 2008, my family too. Johnny Durant, y'all know him. He was the lawnmower motorcycle man. He got all kind of ordinance for keeping his yard clean. So I'm sure the city is aware of him. I was 5 when the property was purchased in '69. I grew up in the neighborhood. I could tell you stories, but I won't stay here all day with that. What I'm concerned about is the procedures and how it was handled and how the planning and the zoning moved forward, regardless to who cared or who knew or who wanted to know. I did take it up on myself to go through the neighborhood for myself. I like to read. To the city of Hammond, May 27, 2025. DeMonica Butler. I live at 610 East Hoover Street. I did not receive, get a letter. I do not want to change Hoover Street to Holton Hills Lane. Sincerely, DeMonica Butler. To the City of Hammond, I, Yolanda Harris, resides at 701 East Hoover Street, Hammond, Louisiana. I do not want the street, East Hoover Street, to be changed to Holton Hill Lane. It is located in District 1. I, Yolanda Harris, make this statement on the 26th day of May 26, 25. I, Melody Knights, resides at 701 East Hoover Street, Hammond, Louisiana. I do not want the street, East Hoover Street, to be changed to Holton Hill Lane. It is located in District 1. I, Melody Knights, makes this statement on the 26th day of 2025, and she signs. To the City of Hammond, May 26, 25, I, Dorothy Brumfield, owner at 609 Hoover Street, Hammond, Louisiana. I do not want the street name changed to Holton Hill Lane, located in District 1. I, Dorothy Brumfield, is making this statement on the 26th day of 2025. Sincerely. To the City of Hammond, I, Odella J. Hogans, resides at 606 East Hoover Street. I do not want to change Hoover Street to Holton Hill Lane, and she signs her name. And my name is Beverly Ann Brumfield, Maryland, and I live at 609 and a half East Hoover. I, too, am opposed to changing East Hoover Street to Holton Hill Lane. And I would like to address the attorney to find out what is the proper procedures when you're trying to do a name change and all parties are homeowners that failed to be notified, haven't, and we still have one that haven't been notified as of today. And how can you move forward with that?
So, when we started this process, I was told by the city planning committee that we had to get the owners who own the property.
That's right.
Not who lives on the property.
That's right.
So every signature that was turned in was people who own the property, not the people who live on the property.
Right.
Let the record show these statements I just read, these are owners.
Monica does
These-
not own that property.
She inherited that
She
property, and I'm
inherited
not
that
gonna argue.
property
You need it.
belongs
Neither.
to Beatrice.
You need a,
Anyway, she inherited a property, and she signed a statement that she did not get a notice, nor did her inheritor.
okay, Andre, I do know when they go through their records over there, they're gonna check everything on that before they go to a vote with it. And they're gonna go through what's on that list, and they're gonna match it up with the homeowners on there before they proceed. And all they need is 51% of the homeowners that's on that paperwork to agree to it. Now, I'm talking to the city attorney. I'm not talking with you, ma'am.
I've not looked at any of,
No, I'm just explaining the process because I read through the paperwork. From the last renaming we did with Ms. Knighton. And I can't give an answer for planning and zoning, their process. I just know when it comes to us, what we do. But through that process, I learned their process on what I was told. Because they sent a list over with the exact name of the folks that own the property to match it up. And they checked that, planning and zoning do.
And I was given every owner of who owns property on East Hoover Street. Now, the property that she's referring to on 609, that property belongs to Beatrice Hills, who is deceased, which DeMonica was inherited that land, but is still in her grandmother's name.
So,
Go ahead, Sam.
Holton Hill Lane, who we're naming, who is this representative here, Holton Hill? That's, you're Holton Hill? Okay.
His granddaughter.
Oh, his granddaughter, okay, all right. I was just trying to get an understanding of, the motive, where where did everything start from, like, as far as
Okay.
getting here? Like, it's named after East Hoover Street. So East Hoover, is there any representatives from East Hoover
Right, she
that are
just
here?
spoke.
She is actually, I guess, a family member of whoever named the
No.
street East Hoover?
No,
Okay,
no,
okay.
She's just.
So there's nobody associated with the East Hoover
right,
naming here?
correct.
Or have you had any?
There's nobody that I know that live on the street named Hoover.
Okay.
If that's the question that you asked.
Yeah,
No. What his question was, is there anybody that's named, last name that's Hoover, that's connected to Hoover Street? That's his question.
yeah, that's pretty, yeah, well, question. I mean, I was just trying to understand a good, if somebody developed a piece of property and had a name of, maybe they named it after their, whoever they wanted to name it after, to change it, if it had meaning to them, I just wanted to make sure that, what we're really looking at and what we're doing and everything, just getting a good understanding of the transition of the name,
If I may, there
When
was,
I went, and let me say this real
Yeah.
quick. When I found all the owners of the properties on East Hoover, I had no reluctance from them to sign. Most of the people who own that property knew my grandfather. Now, the people who live, because I did it wrong the first time. I knocked on doors and asking people to sign. That's when I found out I needed the owners, not the people who live on the property. So this has been like a 2-year process for me. I wouldn't even ask the person at her address because her sister owns that property. Well, the paperwork that I was given from the city says that her sister is the owner. And I went to her sister's address on West Davis, and nobody answered the door. So I don't want it to go by saying like I went behind someone's back and did something wrong. I went to the owners of the property. That's who signed my petition.
I just wanted to clarify something about the process. So what the city does in their street naming requests like this is goes to the tax assessor's records, right? Those are where the property taxes are going, the bills are going, and we mail, in this case, all the property owners on the tax assessment records on East Hoover Street, and that's what was done in this case.
All right.
Do you have any other questions for me?
Anyone else in the public on this item? Thank you. Hammond City Council regular session agenda, May 27th, 5:43 p.m. Roll call, please.
Councilman Divatario?
Yes.
Councilman Andrews?
Present.
Councilman Leon?
Present.
Councilwoman Gonzalez?
Present.
Stand for our prayer, please. Eternal Father, we thank you on this evening. We give you glory, we give you honor, we give you praise, we give you thanks. We enter into your porch with praise and thanksgiving on our lips. Thanking you, Father God, just for another day's journey. Father God, I ask that you continue to touch the hearts and minds of these your precious people. Continue to touch this council right now. Continue to touch their families, but more so, the Heavenly Father, continue to bless the district in which we serve, which will encompass our whole city right now. I ask that you continue to touch our city, state, and our country. Continue to bless our fire department. Continue to bless our police as they continue to protect and serve us. Continue to bless our mayor, the city administration, each city worker right now, Father. Continue to touch them and continue to guide them and continue to keep them. If there's ever a time we need you, Father God, we need you right now. So I just thank you right now for your grace. I thank you for your mercy. But most of the Heavenly Father, I thank you for wisdom, peace, knowledge, and understanding. In all thy ways we will acknowledge you, and you will direct our path. So, Father God, we lift everything up to you on tonight, where everything will be done decent, order, pleasing in your sight. Therefore, you will get all glory, all honor, and all praise, because it all belongs to you. In your darling Son, Jesus Christ's name, we pray. Amen. At this time, I ask that all veterans and active military please render the proper salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, can I get an approval of our May 13th, 2025 minutes, please?
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Gonzalez.
Aye.
Councilman Andrews.
Aye.
Councilman Leon.
Aye.
Councilman Divatario.
Aye.
Final adoption of ordinance number 1.
Final adoption of an ordinance to approve a request by Unita Gay Andrews to rename East Hoover Street to Holton Hill Lane. The street is located in District 1. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval 3-0. Charles.
I think that said everything.
Is there anyone else would like to make a comment? Go ahead, Sal.
Sal Nicolosi, 3607 Highway 190 West, Hammond, Louisiana. I think Charles had said something about they did a mail out to people in that area. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you didn't get any kind of response back?
My understanding is there was no opposition from the mail out. There were also signs that were placed out along the street advising residents, owners of the potential name change.
So I know I've had a little issues with naming streets and all that stuff too over the years with the city. So I think if the lady, Miss Unita, if she went through the procedures, I think she should go ahead and be able to get it, I recommend that they approve it for her. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Okay, so you're saying that even though the state law, I asked the attorney to address this, the state law requires that all the homeowners be notified, and I told you I was not notified. So the board moved forward with it anyway, even after I told them, brought it to their attention through a phone call. So they moved forward with voting to move her request forward. And I don't think it's right when they failed to notify me. So I'm asking the attorney, how do you handle when a procedure wasn't followed properly?
I have a question for you. You have obviously received some notice because you've been to multiple meetings.
I received notices after the fact.
Right, but the planning and zoning is just a recommendation. This
Yeah,
is the
but
board,
they the
hold on, let me
reason why we're
finish.
here.
Hold on, let me finish. This is the board that makes the final decisions. This is the time to say what is proper, what is not, and whether we should do it or not. So right now, it's time to make that decision. And other than you didn't get notice of the first meeting for which they just made a recommendation, not an actual change. This is the time for the actual change. So what's your objection other than you didn't get notice?
My objection is that I have homeowners that still live on the street. She does not live on the street. And her property been sold for over 30-plus years. I've been on the street since 8, and my family have owned since 1969. Therefore, if anybody's name should be to rechange the street, it should be people that actually live on the street and own it. She don't own any land on the street. You sold your land to the church.
So the criteria for it have, talks of the history of the street, the significance of the founders. So I think that's her point, is it's her family
My
was
family
some
has
of the original.
significance too.
So not so much, the criteria isn't whether you live on the street now. We're not going to name my street Gonzalez Street. It's the people who created that area or founded that area, I think is the point.
He didn't found that area. No, he did not. He had a home right across the street from us that he leased out to tenants when I was a little girl, and they sold their property to the church 30-plus years ago. That family hasn't lived on that land since.
That's substance. That's what I'm getting at. Procedure is not the way to object. Substance is the way to object.
And I live there, and I've lost everything I own there. And she wants, all my business is tied up with that address, and she want to change my street? I don't agree with that. I'm still trying to recover. And the procedures were not followed proper, and even though her family did own land there once upon a time, don't give her the right to come and change the street name. And I still live there. I'm still paying taxes there.
Is there anyone else?
Yeah, she's right. My family hasn't been on that street for a long time, but my family has contributed to District 1 for a long time. My mother ran her successful business on Sun Lane for over 40 years. My grandfather had rental properties on Sun Lane and East Hoover. When he sold that house that you're referring to, that's my grandparents' home that my grandfather built for my grandmother. And all 5 of their children were born in that home. So she's saying that we don't have any significance on that street. You don't know my family's history. All of my mother, my uncles and aunt were born there.
I have no problem with that.
But I'm telling you, I'm letting you know. You just said, I don't have any. My family started there.
You need to talk to me.
My family started at 614 East Hoover. My grandfather built that home for my grandmother. All of his children were born in that home. And when my grandmother died, he did rent that home out because he didn't want to live in that home where his wife died. And we have been in District 1 all my life. I was born on Sun Lane, District 1. My entire family lives in District 1. I live in District 1. I lived in District 1. I have a home in District 1. I have land in District 1. So you have don't act. I don't have any significance in District 1. I grew up there just like she did.
Is there anyone else in the public who have a comment on this item?
My name is Stella Rimble Matthews. My address is 403 2nd Avenue, Hammond, Louisiana. I think that this is an awesome idea to rename the street to Mr. Holton Hill because he was a pioneer. He was a great man in the community. I was young. I have been living in the city of Hammond since 1974. That's when I bought my property with my deceased husband. So I think that our pioneers should be recognized in some way. Thank you.
My last plea and my last request, I asked the attorney to address this issue on the procedures. Also, if I disputed it, where do we go from here?
Ma'am, I can't give you legal advice. The city's entitled to rely on the ownership records and the tax records where those go.
I gave
Those
owners.
notices, ma'am, if those notices went out to those persons, those are the ones who we have the information on ownership. That's where it would go.
Now, listen, I have ownership.
Ma'am, I'm not here to answer your questions. I'm here to give advice to the council.
So you don't want to receive these?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Well, so you're saying you refuse to answer any of my questions about legal issues with the city of Hammond?
Ma'am, it's my job to give advice to the council or the mayor or the city boards of commissions.
Can't give
No, ma'am.
instruction on procedures
No, ma'am, I just gave it
or
to
the law?
I just gave it to the council.
Okay, that's all I need to know from you. Anyway, before I leave here today, I have Miss Odella J. Hogan, Dorothy Brumfield, Melody Knight, Yolanda Harris, Monica Butler, and make sure I don't leave nobody out. And my name is Beverly Brumfield, Maryland. We all agreed not to change East Hoover to Holton Hill Lane.
Is there anyone else? I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Councilman Leon.
Aye.
Councilman Andrews.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gonzalez.
Aye.
Councilman Divatario.
Abstain.
Introduction of ordinance number 1.
Introduction of an ordinance request by Kyle Breton for a major subdivision at 1406 South Holly Street, located in District 2. Charles Barsher.
As I always state during these introductions, this is the public notice that if introduced by the council tonight, there will be a public hearing at the next council meeting. That will be on June 10th. This is a proposal to create a new subdivision on South Holly Street. The image that's up on the screen right now, that the shaded area in red is where that subdivision would be. My understanding is it's met all of the requirements of the Planning and Zoning Commission and is now coming before the council for approval to proceed. This is just, again, the introduction, the public notice.
Okay. Is there anyone here on this item who'd like to make a comment? I make a motion to introduce.
Second.
Councilman Divatario.
Abstain.
Councilwoman Gonzalez.
Aye.
Councilman Leon.
Aye.
Councilman Andrews.
Aye. Introduction number 2.
Introduction of an ordinance request by Jason Acock for annexation of 17028 East Iowa Street into Hammond city limits. Property will annex into District 1. Charles Barsher.
Again, this is the introduction. The public hearing would be on the June 10th council meeting. This is an annexation request. This is property that currently lies outside the corporate limits of the city, as shown in the red shaded area on the screen. This would be incorporated into the corporate limits of Hammond.
Anyone from the public would like to make a comment on this item? I make a motion to introduce.
Second.
Councilman Andrews.
Aye.
Councilman Divatario.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gonzalez.
Aye.
Councilman Leon.
Introduction number 3.
Introduction of an ordinance request by Trigg Gibson for annexation of Carolina Drive into Hammond city limits. Property will be annexed into District 1. Charles Barsher.
This is another introduction. Public hearing would be on June 10th. Again, this is an annexation request. The area shown in red currently exists outside the corporate limits of Hammond. It would be annexed into the corporate limits.
All right. Anyone among here would like to make a comment on this item? I make a motion to introduce.
Second.
Councilwoman Gonzalez.
Aye.
Councilman Andrews.
Aye.
Councilman Divatario.
Aye.
Councilman Leon.
Introduction number 4.
Introduction of an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances regarding alcoholic beverages in city parks. Councilman Andrews.
Okay. After our last meeting, and I'll just jump in where I feel the need to start, listen to some comments and things that were made about things taking place in the park. Let me start by saying this. By being an educator, sitting inside of my classroom, sometimes I ear hustle on some of my students' conversations. And being able to hear some of the things that they're talking about kind of got me in an uneasy mode. Even being able to get into some of the bar rooms around here that they're getting in by paying a $40 cover charge to get in, and they're 16 years old. And the climate has changed. And this is an introduction. This is a way to start off a conversation on where we can get some grips on some things, to get some things under control. I know everybody's not going to agree with that, and I'm fine with that, but we can agree to disagree. But we have to put some other perimeters in place. And my thing is this: if you're going to do it for one, you're going to have to do it for all. So we need to put something in place. And this is a talking starting point, and let's see how the talk go.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
Michelle Kendall, a Director of the Hammond Downtown Development District. I've been before you many times to address you, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity that we have to continue working together in service of the citizens of the City of Hammond. I take pride in all the progress that we've made, and am deeply committed to fostering the vitality of our downtown and ultimately the integrity of our public spaces. I have a lot to ask about this particular revision, but I think the first question I'd like to ask is, what problem are we looking to solve with this revision?
One is a park is, to me, is a place for kids. So that's just like me telling my daughter, you could go ahead and if I'm drinking in the park, you can do it. That's just me personally. I can only speak for myself. That's number one. Number two, we got things in place where you say you can't sell in the park. That would be my other issue. Because in certain places you can go do this, and in other parks you can't. So I just want to make the field level for everybody. And again, as I stated, this is just a talking point to start off somewhere. It might not end this way, but this is where we're starting from.
I think we understand the proposed revision of the ordinance includes the removal of Section C, which states the prohibition in the section. It basically has removed Section C. This prohibition may be temporarily waived for various civic and/or community activities upon prior application to the mayor through the Director of Administration and approval thereafter. Upon reviewing the ordinance and reflecting on our past experiences, I've observed that our organization has historically received these waivers through the city council action rather than through the administration, as the ordinance suggests. Additionally, we'd like to seek guidance on whether this revision may have broader implications for public spaces frequently used by community events such as Morrison Alley, the Downtown Pavilion, and parking malls. As you know, the DDD hosts community events such as Hot Dog Stroll, Railroad War, Starry Saturday, the Hammond Farmers and Artisans Market, and most recently our rebranded concert series, Hammond Live. And as mentioned, we routinely become before the council for the approval of those alcohol-related permissions. However, we're not the only ones that would be affected by this. Many local organizations choose downtown, choose the venues that I've mentioned as their location for their events, which contribute meaningfully to the vibrancy and our sense of place within downtown. I also want it to be clear to say we're not asking for an exemption. Rather, if we have concerns in our community about safe alcohol use, that we talk about that as a community and not penalize the safe use of that activity. I asked my question prior to see what problem is this revision looking to solve, because to date, at least when we've gotten our waivers for alcohol, particular to the parks, we understand that there's a way to safely have these events in downtown, and ultimately that is part of our community working together about the enforcement related to safe alcohol use. So we respectfully ask for clarification on how the ordinance revision will impact our ability to host outdoor events, not just the DDD, but all included, involving alcohol in our public parks, and the role of both the administration and council in granting permission for such activities.
Is there anyone else?
I'll just reiterate publicly what Kip and I had a conversation earlier today, because I let him know about my hesitation with the way that this is written. After the last meeting, I stated that I asked Andre to look at that prohibition waiver in the ordinance to tighten it up, basically, because it says that various civic and or community activities. So I know you're not asking for a specific exemption, but that is a perfect example of the DDD being specifically exempted from this. Perhaps we exempt certain parks, right? The Railroad Park is a good example. There's lots of events that happen there. I think that's less of a kids park, to your point, right? Morrison Alley is also that way. It is an open space behind a building where they have the Brews Arts Festival there. Perhaps that is one that is specifically exempted. And then I personally, and I have a lot of constituents that really like the music in the Kate Square Park. And part of that is being able to enjoy alcohol in the park, and I think that that's something that people are concerned would be lost with this revision. So I like that you have brought this to us to determine if there's a way to tighten this up, because it is a concern in all parks. Some parks are huge, and maybe those parks do need to have a prohibition against all alcohol. Other ones that are closer to downtown, which are part of the liveliness of downtown, that is perhaps a better place for people to consume alcohol. I still think there's a potential that, we don't allow sales in alcohol. I get that point, and I think we need more discussion on that.
Anyone else?
Sal Nicolosi. I'm going in favor, like what Kip's saying, because all these parks are supposed to be for children. And, every time you turn around, we got a function going on, and everybody's, they could go buy their beer at the restaurants and bars or whatever. But from what I'm understanding, he just wants to try to make an amendment up to the code that they can't sell on the premises. Is that what you have?
That's part of it.
Huh?
I said that's part of it.
It's more than that, though.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, if they go to the park and if they got an ice chest and bring whatever they
Not
want,
allowed.
so it's not allowed.
Right.
And this is the thing what he brought up is bring some kind of code that our city parks should not have alcohol on the premises. That's what I'm understanding. Is that correct? Okay. Thank you.
Well, we have 2 weeks to iron all of this out. Anybody else have any concerns or anything on it? Your name and city.
I'm Chloe Bishop, and I live in Hammond. I lived in Hammond for about 10 years. I'm from New Orleans, and obviously New Orleans also has its own drinking culture. I grew up going to crawfish boils with my mom at bars that her friends owned. I knew what on the rocks meant by 10 years old, Sprite on the rocks. And despite that, I have a college degree. I'm heavily involved in my community. I run an art market. I'm in upper management, so I don't think alcohol should be contributed to these issues, and that we should be looking at these deeper issues if that is a concern. That's all I really have to say.
What is the best way to work on revisions to this with you, Councilman Andrews?
Send me an email with all what you stated. I'll review it. I'll get back with you on it. And I'm going to get back with Andre, along with Ms. Councilwoman Gonzalez's concerns, and we're going to put it all on paper, and we're going to iron it out at the next meeting. Tonight is just an introduction.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And let me say this also, council. So there's another section in the alcohol section, right, dealing with open containers. And like you customarily do, if there's a special event in a particular place at a particular time, you're able to waive that open container law, and you sometimes do that. That's different than this one. This is a general prohibition about alcohol in city parks. And the way I would read it would be all city parks. If there wants to be an exemption, there'd be an exemption. But just to say there's also another provision that for a particular event, place, and time, they could make a request to the council for permission. That would be for open container, not really the sale of alcohol. That would be something you need to address to make it clear what the rules are.
Okay. Anyone else? Make a motion to introduce.
Second.
Councilman Divatario.
Aye.
Councilman Andrews.
Aye.
Councilman Leon.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gonzalez.
All right, resolutions, old business. Resolution number 1.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to renew a 5-year agreement with Axon Enterprise, Inc. in the amount of $445,502.88, which is $89,100.58 per year, under state contract 4400028582 for licensing services, including cloud storage, warranties, and upgrades for the police department's body cams. Charles Barsher?
There was a lot of discussion on this item at the last meeting. I did want to clarify, there was a question that was asked about the website where you can upload video. I've gotten clarification on that. When there is an open investigation where the police department's actively soliciting the public's assistance, they'll create a link and the public can upload any private cameras if they have a doorbell camera or cameras around their home or business. They can upload video that might be useful to the investigation. There isn't a community link that's always available, and that's largely to prevent spam from outside sources where, if there were such a link, they would just keep uploading video, and then our cloud storage would be at risk. So this is a link that is created in response to a specific investigation and the HPD's need for additional information. Once again, this is a request to approve the renewal of this contract. Works out to a little over $89,000 a year. This is money that is in the police department's budget. This is not the city giving the police department money. This is the city authorizing the police department to spend its own funds for these body cameras in the interest of providing that transparency, that accountability that's been requested by this council, by the public. Connected to this is the cloud storage, as I mentioned. It also includes warranties and hardware replacements, so we're able to upgrade our cameras, I believe, every 2 years, all under this contract pricing. This is a state contract price. This is how Axon gives us the discount. It's a 5-year agreement. There really isn't an option to break that down into annual subscriptions or 3-year subscriptions. Their subscription model is based on the 5-year to give us the best possible pricing they can.
And Charles, I like what you said there earlier with the council has brought to y'all's attention about accountability throughout the years, and this is what this is doing, helping give accountability to the officers and the cameras being worn and where, that's the problem right here, to where we've had this in place before, and it seems to become the same issue and time again of not having them on in certain cases that are very important to have them on. And so my problem here isn't having the cameras backed up and having this contract renewed. My problem is that if we're spending money and paying for all this equipment and not being used, there's no point in paying for all this equipment and all the backup if we're not having the cameras on and turned on all the time. And prior to this, I was even trying to get it took me a while to even get the disciplinary actions that were taking place on officers who haven't, wore their body cams in certain situations. And I do a public records request, or that's what they did or treated it as. But any elected official, Andre, I think should have the ability to receive the information, and not as a public records request when we're overseeing and having a vote and vote on things of the people that representative. That's you can't pick and choose. We should have preview to that information to review.
I think you should certainly have access to the information you need to make your decision for the council. I do. Public records requests are different. That's a public record. There are some exemptions, but if you're looking for questions is not public records. That's just documents. But if you have questions about items that you need to make decisions on, I'd suggest you send those to Charles or send those to the mayor and get the answers that you need for the information for you to vote. Yeah. That would be different than a public record.
Exactly. I just wanted to make sure, because it seems like I didn't have that issue several years ago, but it seems like lately it's I don't know, it's changed or something. And I wanted to make sure that was clear, if we had to make it clear to administration or whoever or whatnot that we're not the public. I mean, we have to have information. We can't just sit up here and vote on things and we have no idea of policies and procedures if anything's been implemented, or if they've had no disciplinary actions in 6 years. Well, I mean, maybe there's a problem.
Understood. But my suggestion is you speak directly with the mayor, directly with Charles for that information, because that's different than a public records request for information on these items.
Well,
even when we have cameras that aren't on, generally there are other people with them, other officers with them, car cameras on, there are cameras that are catching things. So does it happen? Do we have issues at times with audio and video? Yeah, but we also have other people that are there. Discipline has been given to officers. I don't know where you're coming across with no discipline in 6 years, but regardless, you know, when things go wrong, people are accountable, and we hold them accountable.
I didn't say there was no discipline in 6 years. I asked for the information on in the past. Well, I didn't say 6, actually I said 4, but I said in meeting 6 years, I'm saying if you have stats where in the past 6 years there's no disciplinary action, I don't know because I didn't see it. If I don't have it in front of me with facts, then I can't look and make a decision if I don't have it, and that's what I'm getting at. And so, and if I had the facts, maybe all the rumors I hear and people come to me and tell me, maybe I'd say, you know what, nah, that's not true. You know, that they're wearing their cameras all the time. They're all, you know, in which I thought last equipment we bought, the cameras were supposed to come on whenever they, you know, turn the lights on automatically or whatnot. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm on the cop's side, but it's a liability too on the city. You should always want your cameras on because who pays all the fees and all the legal fees and all the things? But the city taxpayers pay all that stuff whenever we brought the liability. But the cameras on showing that nobody did anything wrong. The cops did their job, the criminal did bad, and there you go. Well, we're all happy. Move on.
We agree.
Well, the sidebar on to what Sam just said, not to prolong this process after this, for this coming into this meeting, I did send a request on the policy and procedure for body cams on May the 22nd. And my email sent me a notification for a follow-up, and I still haven't received any information on it as of yet. And I was going to use that information to base my decision on moving forward on tonight. But however, I will say this, I will not hold up the process because I do feel that that is what's being needed. And thank you, Andre, for making the comment that you did say, because I did tie others into this same email, but I sent it to the department head, and I still haven't received a response on that.
Yes, sir, I'd recommend you send it directly to the mayor or directly to Charles. And same with all council members. If you're looking for information, it really is different than a public records request. There's a very strict protocols on public records requests. We're trying to administer that, but what you're asking for is information, not really, maybe you're looking for documents, but you have questions. You're looking to get your questions answered. You're looking for information. My suggestion is send that directly to the mayor or directly to Charles to get that information.
Okay, so your recommendation is not to include the department head in, I'm just asking a question, Andre, not to include the department head, which is the person that's in the head of the department for the information.
Yeah.
But I did include the mayor in this email as well.
Yes, sir, because really the director of administration, he can then hand that off to whichever department he believes is most appropriate to get you the information. So, but yes, sir, I do recommend you go through the director of administration or the mayor for information, not the department heads directly.
Okay. So, me asking the chief about body cam information for his department, it's cut him all the way out, is what you recommend.
Well, I'm suggesting
No,
the mayor,
I'm just
the mayor or
asking.
Charles will bring him in. The mayor or Charles will bring him in. The department heads work for the mayor and for the director of administration. That's their bosses. So certainly you could copy whoever you want to copy with it. My recommendation as a council member, an elected official, you go to the elected official, the mayor, the chief executive, or the director of administration with your request. And they can be sure that those get timely responded to.
And that's what I was going to say. If you contact the chief or his staff and you're not getting a response before you come here tonight and you're looking for an answer, I would definitely follow up with Charles or myself so we can get that to you appropriately and appropriate time.
Mr. Campbell?
Stanley Campbell, District 1. First, I want to say thank y'all for bringing this up, and I love what you guys had to say about this issue. I will continue to lobby for transparency when it comes down to body cams and things of that nature when it deals with the police. I have confidence in the police department here in Hammond, and I know there's a lot of great officers who utilize the technology for what the way it's supposed to be used. However, in certain cases, as I've reiterated on multiple cases, that sometimes that it's not happening. I know I understand that it's budgeted. I know Charles mentioned that it was budgeted for already, and they're just spending funds that are already budgeted for. But I'm sure this body understands that if something's not working, we don't want to keep doing the same thing over and over again. Not saying that I think we should not do body cams. I know how important it is. I know you guys will probably need to pass this because it is important. But there are other extenuating factors that are important inside of this, some of which Sam talked about and which Kip talked about also. But I think we need a clear understanding of the reprimands, Mr. Mayor, for what happens with officers who continuously do this. So these bad actors who are continuously doing this over and over again, we all know there's great police officers and there's some bad ones. Some of them ruin it for the bunch. In this situation, several cases here in Hammond where body camera footage, I know some of it is still under investigation right now and can't be released, but I know from speaking with some officers that there isn't body cam footage on certain ones, and the guys didn't have their body cameras on. So the reason I asked last time, I asked for a copy of the policies and procedures because I want to know exactly what actions are being taken when these guys actually pass a certain level. Because it's easy to kind of sort these guys out. Most people who are actually coming up and you look at their records and there's a lot of arrests for certain things. There's telltale signs of bad actors. And I feel like in that policies and procedures manual, what it will allow us to do is let us see which officers are doing what and which ones we need to take greater escalations with. So I think that's important. I don't know how we go about getting a copy of the policies and procedures. I don't know if that's what you were talking about, Charles. I was speaking about that last meeting, about the policies and procedures manual is the only one that's not on the website for the police department. That's what I was talking about. I wasn't talking about the other thing that you was.
Correct me if I'm wrong, did you do a public records request for that? I thought there was a conversation about.
We had a conversation and I was asking, do I need to? Okay. And the mayor, I think his response was that you guys would take care of it, but still put one in.
Okay. I'll follow up on that. Yeah.
Okay.
You need to put one in. Also, there is discipline that's handed down when officers don't do their jobs appropriately. And once again, there are times when cameras are off, but there are other people around them and other cars around them that generally, hopefully, catch video and has caught video in some of the circumstances that you're talking about specifically, just to address that.
Right. Now, what I'm talking about is I think we need a deterrent for bad actors. If we're just saying that officers are being reprimanded, I think it needs to be an escalation, and we need to show that there's an escalation to actually deter these guys from actually doing that.
Eventually, if you do enough, you lose your job. There's an escalation to a point.
Right,
and
but
you don't have a job. You're dealing with civil service, and we have a civil service attorney who handles that. And I will tell you that people are disciplined, and when it gets to a certain point, people won't have their jobs. So there's a deterrent there.
Just keep in mind, Mr. Mayor, let's not wait till somebody lose their life in this. That's kind of what I'm pointing to.
We all worry about that every day and every night.
Anyone else?
Al Nicolosi. I've did a little research on Axon Enterprise, and from what I'm understanding, that a lot of these equipment, they maintain, they maintain their liability or whatever. I mean, they don't go bad. So what I'm trying to figure out is why are we upgrading, and how many are we upgrading to? Number one.
Actually, it's dealing with the cloud space that storages the information that's housed from the body cam. It's not the body cameras itself.
That's the body cameras, that's what I'm talking about.
No. It's not per se the body camera, it's the iCloud space that houses the information that downloads from the body cam.
Okay, I understand it goes into the cloud, right?
Right.
This in buying new equipment. This right here is a contract for renewing the agreement that it's the program they use to store all the video clippings and anything recorded is for a cloud just to keep. So we have to renew that to pay for storage space so where they can continue back and
which includes
the cameras up.
Well, it says body cameras on here.
Yes,
Doesn't it?
let me clarify. So the way that Axon sells its products is through a service agreement, right? So
Yeah, the service.
you purchase the cameras, but you're actually spending more on the service to run those cameras, to store your video. Part of the agreement is you're renewing the contract, you're getting warranties extended, you're getting service continued, you're getting updates to the software that runs the cameras. And in our case, we're actually getting newer cameras as newer cameras become available. Think about like your mobile phone, right? It may still work, but at a certain point, it doesn't do all the things that the newest phone does. So this is a way to keep all of our cameras current within that same service agreement. That's Axon's business model, is they provide their hardware as part of a service agreement that includes all the other software and services that they offer.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying on that, Charles. But I was just trying to figure out, how many cameras does the police department have?
I think this contract is for 119
Woo!
in total.
That's how many police we got on the force? So each one has a camera?
102, I'm sorry, 102.
You have more? Okay. So how long has it been since those cameras were renewed? 5 years ago?
Some are about 5 years old, some were upgraded more recently than that. But yeah,
I'm just trying to figure out why we're spending, close to $500,000. And what about 3 years? You can't get a contract for 3 years?
no, this is the best pricing we can get is for the 5-year agreement. Axon prefers the 5-year agreement over any, like, if it was an annual agreement, we'd be paying significantly more than the $89,000 a year. If it were a 3-year agreement, we'd be paying more than we're paying for the 5-year agreement.
You say we, the taxpayers, right?
The taxpayer, the police department, yes.
Did you have the breakdown of that, Charles, the 1, 2, 3, or 4, 5-year contract or anything, or?
I do not. This is what they provided us, was the 5-year. I think when we originally were looking at upgrading or adopting Axon equipment, we had those kind of breakdowns, but that was 5 or 6 years ago when we first started the Axon process.
Well, I was just saying, what information I got from them was that in a 5-year period, that equipment's still good, And I didn't know why we had to. I mean, I understand you want to upgrade, but every time I turn around, I see the police upgrading and upgrading. But then whenever we need to look at the reports or whatever, you can't get a look at whatever the cameras are doing. So what good does it do for us to pay for these cameras when a citizen would ask a question or wanted to see? I think he just said a few minutes ago, you got to go to the mayor and you got to go to Charles. So this is where we're at now. We know we don't ask nobody else. We don't go to the chief, we go to the mayor, and we go to Charles, right?
Well, just to clarify, what Andre was recommending is that a member of the council, if they had questions, bring those questions to the mayor and myself.
Council or citizens, same people, okay?
No, they're not. If it's a member of the public, and I addressed that at the last meeting, we've had 156 requests last year for body cam footage.
Mm-hmm.
We were able to fulfill all but 4 of those, right? We had footage in all but 4 cases. So I think that points to 2 things. 1, the cameras are being used, and 2, that we have very few instances, comparatively speaking, 4 out of 156, where we couldn't find footage for whatever the reason. So those are public records requests. We get those very frequently. 156, that's about 3 a week.
And
Well, actually, a piece of equipment, the camera is $150, right? Or 120, whatever.
And remember, all upgrades are included in the contract. As
Right.
the years go on, if there's an upgrade, it automatically gets done.
But it never goes down.
What does?
The individual cameras are about $900 each.
All right. Anyone else? I will say this before we move on to this vote. I did reach out to Andre to see about if there was a process in which the council could put in place for the officers wearing these body cams, and it's on the administration in order to put that policy in place. So I just wanted to put that out there that I did check into that to see if there was anything that we could do on our end, and that's the information that was provided back to me.
I would imagine the council could propose any changes, and then it would have to be voted on, and if there was any policy changes.
Well, law
Yeah, I mean-
enforcement's different.
Okay.
And I've cited, I don't have it with me, Ken,
Yeah.
but I did cite
I-
Attorney
yeah,
General's opinions.
I did read it all.
There's a memo on that question. So that's the administration. They're in charge of the executive. They handle discipline, they handle personnel matters. And under the charter, the council really doesn't engage in personnel matters. So yes, sir, it's on the administration to be sure all that's done.
And believe me, as Sam was stating earlier, there's nothing more we want than these cameras on. It protects the officer, it protects everyone in the situation. There's no benefit for that camera not to be on, for anyone.
Anyone else? I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Councilman Leon. Councilwoman Gonzalez.
Aye.
Councilman Divatario.
Aye.
Councilman Andrews.
Aye.
And, I really do. I mean, I voted for that because I think they need it, but we really gotta get better. We really gotta get better on this, the policies and really making it more transparent to where these questions and concerns do not keep coming to my desk about issues with cameras being on or off. We're buying and we're spending $500,000 on cameras. We need to be using them. There's a lot of other things that the city taxpayers could see. If we're not going to use them, no point in having them. So,
Old business resolution number 2.
Review and consider the timeliness of the appeal request by Guys 1 LLC. Heather Dibble.
Heather Diebold, City of Hammond Historic District. As this relates to the timeliness of Mr. DiVittorio's request for an appeal, while I do assert that my argument that this appeal was requested untimely, I do also see where the language governing this is open to interpretation and is best suited for a judge in this matter. So as a matter of record, I reserve the issue of timeliness to be addressed by the judge, but to the council, I defer to the merits of the appeal on fines.
So I looked at the various laws regarding the computation of time, and I think, I guess same conclusion as you, it's a little ambiguous, or we're not totally sure whether we should be following the civil code or the revised statutes. And my suggestion is, Andre, if you could get with the historic district and put language in the ordinance regarding whether we're following civil code 5059, or an appeal can be submitted on a Saturday at 6 o'clock at night, where it needs to be in business hours, just so if this issue comes in the future, we don't have to come back to it.
Yeah, I mean, where it stands right now is it just says 10 days. So, I mean, the council isn't a court of law, so they are not bound by the rules of civil procedure. So if it says 10 days, we would say 10 days. But there could be an argument that there could be administrative, there could be other things. So I think that this is something that's best to look at by a judge, and so I reserve that.
You're not saying you want it to go to a judge, right? Like, do you want us to table this or deny, or what are we asking here?
Well, so I think, if I'm understanding, and Heather and I spoke about this, I
Yes.
think she's just deferring this issue to the appeal on the merits.
Oh, so go to
Whether-
number 3.
Yes. So
Yes,
basically,
yes.
She doesn't want to give up the argument of untimeliness. That's for another day, another time, perhaps.
Correct. I just feel like I want to go on to what matters the most about preserving our resources, and that's what the next argument is about.
Got you, sorry. So do we,
so you're moving this number 2 off here? Or, I mean, it's on the agenda, so you,
So, I mean, what I would suggest, motion to defer item number 2 to
Okay.
be considered under item number 3.
makes sense.
Thank you.
Anyone else on this one?
So I'm gonna, oh, I guess, yeah. Motion to defer.
Darrell Smith here representing Guys One LLC. My understanding you want to, we're going to table this, or we're going to?
Well, we're still on number 2, so there's two different parts. This one that's on the table now is the commission suggesting the appeal was untimely and shouldn't be heard at all. And what we've heard is the commission saying, well, let's just take that up when you take up the merits of the appeal. Should there be fines or should there not be fines? Leaving to the side the question whether it's untimely or not. So my suggestion to the council is the motion might be to defer action on item number 2 and refer that to item number 3, which is the appeal itself. 2 is really procedural. 3 is on the merits. So that would be my suggestion to the council.
So combine them.
Yes, sir. Basically, that's the effect of what it would be. Yes. So basically, the official action is going to be to defer item number 2 to be considered under item number 3.
Item number 3 is going to be
That'll be next.
2 issues.
Yeah, that'll be next. The first, we got to deal with number 2 first.
The timeliness of the appeal is my response to what?
So that would be, there's a time frame that's set out in the UDC that tells folks if you don't like what the commission did, you can bring that up to the city council. And they have a deadline for that. The deadline says 10 days. Well, in aspects of law, do you count a holiday? Do you count a weekend? Is a day till midnight? And the council can follow the UDC with 10 days. Or you could look to, for reference purposes, the law. You don't have to, but you could, and that's not a bad thing because that happens in law. So I think what the suggestion is, let's just get to the merits of it, not really concern ourselves so much with the timeliness of it, but whether the fine should have been imposed or not.
Let me ask you this. Do you have anything that I can look at where y'all notified me on this?
So the question was raised about this item. It was on an agenda before, and it was deferred or really tabled because there was litigation. So in the litigation, the judge basically gave a green light to the council to be able to proceed with the appeal. Because until the council makes a decision, there is no decision to appeal.
He can't rule on anything until they make a decision.
Yes, sir, that's right. And so that goes to a stay that was allowed in the litigation. One of our arguments was an appeal over the fine is premature because the council hasn't decided. You decided the certificate of appropriateness, and that's what's in litigation. This is separate. This is whether a fine should be imposed. So what we suggested to the judge, and there really was no opposition, is that let's let the council decide what it wants to do. Once the council decides, and if you don't like that decision, then that goes before the judge in a meet. But now we're just talking about the timeliness. So yes, sir, so we're going to talk about that. Note, if you'd like, we can speak with that on item number 3, and that is the appeal itself.
My question is how did y'all contact me? How did you notify me?
So you've got a lawyer who represents you in the litigation, and in the litigation, you raised the question of this fine, and I spoke with your lawyer and told him that I was going to request that this matter be placed on the agenda for this meeting, and I gave that on May 14th. I told your attorney, I'm going to request that this be on the agenda for this meeting. 2 days later, I sent the email to Kip, Councilman Andrews, I'm asking that this matter be placed on the agenda. The agendas really don't come out until Thursday, Friday before the meeting. I don't decide what gets on the agenda, I make requests. Once it once it was shown this was going to be on the agenda, that's when I sent your lawyer the message saying, yes, this will be on the agenda for this meeting.
No, my question is y'all are complaining about the condition of the building.
Yes.
And they contacted the owner
Yes.
which is me.
Yes.
How did they contact me? Because
Well, that would be to the merits of the appeal, whether you don't think you got notice of the appeal. But in terms of the fine, in terms of the appeal, it was filed by your lawyer.
Yeah.
Your lawyer filed the appeal, and that's why he got the notice.
Yeah.
of
So
the
so my
hearing.
position is, counsel, is that I don't think I was contacted properly on any of the issues that they have brought forward. But because I've asked for, show me where I signed on a certified mail, and that's my position. So I'll sit down and wait for item number 3.
Well, my little concern here is, if it's in litigation, I don't even really see why are we dealing with anything until we see where everything results, to where then you go ahead and say, okay, if some reason it goes whichever way it goes, and I mean, then you can go ahead and make a judgment at that point in time what the council wants to do, or if we want to do anything.
The judge can't decide till the council decides.
Yeah.
So there's a step on the appeal. You go through different layers of appeal. If someone doesn't like a decision of the commission, they appeal it to the council. If they don't like the decision of the council, they appeal it to the judge. That's what was done on the certificate of appropriateness, whether that work could be done on the property. This is a separate issue. This deals with fines. The commission imposed fines. They felt like the property wasn't being kept up in compliance with ordinances. And if you don't, there's a process for that. So they went through that process at the Historic District Commission. The commission said, we're going to impose fines because we think you didn't keep your building in compliance. They made that decision. Guys didn't like that decision, so they appealed to the council. You've never heard that appeal. You haven't made a final decision. Until you make a decision, there's nothing for them to appeal. So I could strategically file an exception in district court and throw the whole thing out because there's been no final decision made. I just as soon find it on the merits. Let's take it up on the merits. You might decide there's no fine. If you decide there's no fine, there's nothing to appeal, and it's over with. Nothing happens until the council makes its decision. That's when it's what we call ripe for an appeal. So my advice is there's no impediment with the litigation. The judge has said it's okay for you to go forward and make a decision on the fine. Until you make a decision on the fine, that's when we determine what the next step is. And that would be number 3. That's on the merits.
I'll wait.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to defer action on number 2, pending action number 3.
I second that motion.
Councilman Divatario?
Abstain.
Councilwoman Gonzalez?
Aye.
Councilman Leon?
Aye.
Councilman Andrews?
Aye. Number 3,
Again, Heather Diebold, City of Hammond, Historic District.
She's got to
she has to read it first. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Review and consider appeal by Guys 1 LLC of the decision of the Hammond Historic District Commission to assess fine related to multiple maintenance violations.
Yeah, before we get too deep into this, I just want to give, because I think Darrell is going to request that this be postponed. So why don't we take that up now to see if they want, before Heather gets into a long presentation of the appeal.
Darrell Smith, 201 Northwest Railroad Avenue. I'm going to ask that we table this issue until late June, I believe.
Why?
Well, I think, not to speak for him, but I think the question is notice. I explained the notice that was given. He's asking for more time.
Yes.
And I'm not going to be here at the next meeting. I should be here when it's taken up, so the next time would be the end of June, second meeting in June.
So you were given notice through your attorney, and were aware that the stay was lifted. I feel like that's a lot of time. And I'm hesitant to grant a continuation of this. We have quite a few people in the historic district here. I don't know if they want to speak. That's my personal opinion.
Well, I just want to say, I really think it's crazy how we're even to this point because, you know, Darryl, what do you plan on doing with that building?
Well, it's gonna be, 80% of it's gonna be demolished because we're gonna build a new structure there, so.
So you're investing back into downtown
Yeah,
in the
I'm
building
gonna
and
spend
redoing
a
it?
couple of $1 million
So-
in downtown, so. The back of the building, the roof, all that was scheduled to be demolished when Jeff finished the plans, and it was approved, I think, by the DDD before it was annexed into the historic district, so.
Because, well, I mean,
Why aren't you maintaining it? I mean, it just doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. Cut the grass, paint the, get rid of the graffiti. I mean, you know.
Yeah, I'll give you a little history on it. Before we put the boards on the windows, the kids, or the college kids, I'm assuming, was breaking the windows. Bobby Mitchell called me and said, Darryl, would you please cover up those windows? Bobby Mitchell works for the city. I said, okay, Bobby, I'll do that. So that's why we have wood on the windows. So we left the windows covered up so no one gets hurt. And until we would get our permit to build the structure. So it doesn't make sense to me to go in and put fresh windows in when I'm waiting to get a permit to build a building.
Okay, I'm not talking about windows. I'm talking about cut the grass. I'm talking about when they spray graffiti on. This is you know, cheap stuff. I mean, you know,
Well, there's
this is
graffiti.
cheap stuff. Make it look nice. It's part of downtown. It's part of Hammond. Make it look nice. It just seems like you're just kind of waiting for the whole thing to fall down.
No. I'm waiting to get a permit so I can demolish 80% of the building or more, so I can build a structure in downtown.
So, but you're trying to get a permit to demolish it, but the historic district has said that you can't, and so that's what's appealed,
Well,
correct?
No. So regardless of what I build, I'm gonna have to put a new roof on. And the rear of the buildings, the walls are falling down. There's a considerable amount of work that has to be done. So why would you spend money maintaining an old building that you plan on restoring? I'm just waiting for a permit. I'm waiting to have the judge make a decision. And once the decision's made, then I'm gonna build either a one-story, or two-story, or three-story building. So as far as graffiti, there's plenty of buildings in downtown Hammond.
that's kind of concerning to me a little bit is because you have a building that's not open and running and you've been supposedly working on it, getting a permit, getting things done. Now you delayed and all this, that a building next door, I looked at for 6 years with graffiti all over, that was open. That was running. They had graffiti all over it for years. Your windows are probably being broken from next door, probably. And so what I'm getting at is, to me, it seems a little more personal when at the end of the day, you have people that are trying to invest in the downtown Hammond and put a big building up, spend money, and it's been held up for appeals on what are we really trying to do. I think they should be able to work, you should be able to work with the historic district, get it done so where you can go ahead and get the building up and running, and hopefully put some good tenants in there, or whatever you plan on doing with it, selling it, or whatever, you know?
Darryl, do you own the Tropic building?
The Tropic building.
Remember the old Tropic Cafe? You own that building, right? Yeah. You remember when the wall fell in the street and the city had to step in and hire a contractor and fix that wall?
Yep, I remember that.
Pretty much same thing here. 80% of this building is, from historic standards, is not going to come down because the walls are good enough to be repaired and rebuilt, just like the Tropic, as the city had to do it. And when those windows were getting broken and the doors were getting broken, the glass, we, the city, went and put the boards up, not you. So all that being said, I understand what you're saying, but you're still, one of the main things that you haven't fixed on that building was the roof, which is really impairing that building from repair. And I guess you're hoping it falls down, and if it did, possibly you'd be able to
Well,
build
let's
from
go
the
back
ground
to
up.
the Tropic building. Who owned the building when the walls fell? Do you recall?
You, I thought. I asked you that. Do you
Made a
own the building?
mistake. I do not own it. I know where the building is, but I was not, I didn't own the building. Do you know what year that happened?
Do you own it now?
I do, but I didn't own
You're
the
saying you
building.
didn't own it when it fell?
No, I didn't. I'm trying to remember which year did that happen.
I have no clue.
Yeah.
I know William Wainwright went in and fixed that wall.
Yeah,
So-
William and Ron Macaluso was the city attorney and called me and asked me to help him on the building, so.
If I
I
could,
don't know what year it was, but I'm glad you brought that up. The cafe, the Rosenblum building, the Tropic Cafe, the old Cypress, the building on Cypress Street. I restored all of those buildings, rebuilt them, made them what they are today. Mason was the mayor, I believe. So I'm going to do the same thing for Guys. Do you like what I did? Absolutely. Okay. Well, if you like what I did there, you're going to like what I'm going to do to Guys.
The only problem you have with Guys that I see is, number one, before you were brought into the district, you could have built a 3-story building. You can't do that now. Now you can't build a 2-story building. Supposedly, it's only 3 feet off. That's where I think they need to work. That's where I think we need to work with you. That the building across the street is a 2-story building facing you. So why wouldn't we give you a variance for 3 feet to build a 2-story building?
I don't really see anything wrong with building a 3-story building in a downtown city. I mean,
if
it's a
in-
downtown city. Downtowns
Well, I
go
get
up.
it.
They go up. They don't go down, they go up. And we tear down
Yeah, but
buildings.
the
We tear
historic
down
district-
buildings, we tear down historic houses. I've been on this council, we done tore down houses that, yeah, you could almost refix anything if you want to some extent. And we've tore them down to build beautiful buildings like the Stoa building. That was in the historic district. Those houses were dilapidated and could have been restored, but they wanted to tear them down. We did it. The Rosses had 2 houses on the main drag. Yeah, they were in bad shape. They could have been remodeled, but they were tore down. So what I'm saying is, those to go ahead and put removed, relocated, either way they were removed, and they could have been in place.
Do you want to wait?
They're in the historic
Yeah,
district.
exactly. And so-
Okay, yes, ma'am, thank you. So, look at it, talking about that building, everybody loves that. As far as 3 or 4-story buildings, the old Regents Bank, Planners Bank today is a 4-story building. And I think it's in historic, right? Is that right? Yeah. Okay. So, then you have issues with the Planners Bank, Regents Bank building?
okay, can we get to the topic
Sign is a sign.
of whether we're going to table this
You
or
look
not?
at some other buildings, we have the apartments on 210 West Robert Street faces, park, it's controlled, that's 3.5 stories. The downtown Hammond is, and I'm looking at one right now, First Guarantee Bank. Is that in the district?
No,
It faces the district?
it's not.
It doesn't even face it? Well, when you start riding around and really looking at the height issues, there's plenty of buildings that are 3 stories or 4 stories tall. So, I want to maintain it. I'm just tied up in court. And as soon as I get a permit, I'm going to go to work. So.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Jessica?
Okay. All right.
Hi, Jessica Shirey. I'm the chairman for the Historic District for the City of Hammond. I do want to clarify, I know that this may not be the time to do this, but because all of the topics have been brought up, there's a lot of things that are unfactual that are being said. There are guidelines, there are standards. These standards come down from the federal level to the state level to the local level. Y'all have approved these. All of these guidelines are ordinance. And so we follow and very pridefully follow the standards. Whenever you compare one building to another building, that's not how we do it. There are ratios of height. There's been a lot of time put into this. This specific plan was brought to us. We tried to work with them on changing some things, saying these are the things that are the problems. The applicant refused to change anything and just simply wanted it denied and appealed to you. You guys withstood our decision It's gone to appeal to the court. That's the process, that's fine. The fact that the building is in disrepair right now has nothing to do with the appeal for the COA, the project that they want to do. The building has water intrusion coming from the roof. It is being intentionally, he's had plenty of time and been notified. His representation, Mr. Frank DiVittorio, his attorney, was present at these meetings, and whether he decided to come to the meeting or not, he had representation, therefore he did know about it. There's just no way to deny that. But that being said, the fines that are going to be discussed are absolutely, the only reason why they are as high as they are is because they were given ample amount of time. And Councilman DiVittorio, you referred to the building across the street. We took the same procedure with them, and they rectified the situation.
It was there like that for 6 years, yes. It was there for at
And
least
we've
6
dealt- this
years,
building
and nobody
has been this
saw
way
it.
for the
That's
same
why,
amount of time.
that's why I have a
So
problem.
we've
It
been
seems
doing
like
the
it's
same
targeting.
thing. However, the owners of the other building rectified it, and they had fines on the table. They have had the chance to rectify this. These fines have been on the table for a long time, and it's been very clear that exactly what the consequences are. And the boarded up windows are supposed to be repaired within, I think it's 14 days. So it's not, ignorance of the rules is not an excuse.
Heather?
This is very interesting. I'm waiting to spend $2 million to fix up a building, and y'all are arguing with me on the condition of the building. I mean, that's baffling to me. I'm trying to take a few steps forward. Pete says that they boarded up the building, the windows. Why did you board up the windows, Pete? Because it was not safe, exactly. So whether I boarded it up, or Pete, or whoever sent them out there, the fact is it wasn't safe. And it's not going to be safe if we take the boards off. So why do you want to endanger the people of Hammond when Pete boarded it up, so he says? I mean, that makes no sense.
Well, it's stating the fact of neglect, Darrell, is what it is.
We're trying
I mean, it's very
to
simple.
move forward and
I get
build
it.
something.
Hey, I wish you would.
We're all wasting time saying, what can we do to Darrell to find him more? That's all y'all want to do is find me. And I'm saying, Lord, I just want to build something nice, like I always have.
Heather. Heather, step to the mic.
Mr. Smith acquired this property in 2016. He has done no maintenance whatsoever. Vegetation, graffiti, boarded windows. I mean, we can look at it now. The roof is falling in. This is not part of the fines that are in front of us today because we have been handcuffed by this lawsuit. The violations of the UDC for good repair and boarded openings are for emergency purposes only and for no more than 14 days. On February 7th, 2024, a letter was sent to come before the commission for noncompliance on February 21st. A remedial application was submitted on February 19th. At the February 21st meeting, Frank DiVittorio said glass was ordered. Given 60 days, the commission gave them 60 days till April 21st of 2024 to bring this building into compliance. Fines were going to be dated back to the February 21st of 2024 date. That was going to be $100 per day per violation. On April 22nd, 61 days later, a formal violation letter was sent to attend the May 15th meeting for assessment of fines. On May 1st, you have it in your packet, I received an email from Mr. Smith that a crew has been hired to address vegetation, and basically stating that the other violations would be taken care of once we approve the project that was denied by the historic district, and that decision upheld by this council. On May 15th, Frank DiVittorio stated to the commission he had been advised by Mr. Smith that the vegetation and graffiti had been removed before the date of the meeting. As you see from the pictures that were given to you from both May 15th, 2024, and on May 22nd, 2025, they show that nothing has been done. We have, as a commission, the power to enforce these regulations by state statute adopted into the UDC. At this point, Mr. Smith is 462 days in violation, which equals $138,600 in fines. I have no doubt that Mr. Smith is using the current lawsuit as justification to allow the building to continue to fall into further disrepair by failing to perform any maintenance. For me, the commission, and any person who has an appreciation for our history and historic structural resources, this failure to act is egregious and unjustifiable. I urge you to uphold the decision of the Hammond Historic District Commission to impose these fines and encourage guys to take the appropriate action to maintain their property. Thank you so much.
I just have one question, Andre. And let's just say if this was to be tabled, he would still inquire those fees every day up until that last meeting in June?
Yes.
I was just asking a
Yeah.
question.
My thought here, so if we table it till June, or if we hear it tonight, if we hear it tonight and we overturn these fines, it's over. If we hear it tonight and we confirm these fines, you're gonna appeal it. So basically, we're just kicking the can down the road for 2 weeks. If you lose tonight or in June, you're gonna appeal it. If you win tonight or in June, you're happy. So why would we table it? We're just adding 2 more weeks to the process to give, to either you win or you appeal us.
Well, I think the right thing to do is to deny all the fines, and let's focus on approving a building that we can build in Hammond rather than wasting time. 6 months, 6 years, I don't want to do that. I would like to build something. But if you want to pound on more fines and fines, there's nothing I can do to stop you. I think it's in the best interest of everybody. Let me renovate or build the building, 1, 2, 3 stories tall. That's all I'm trying to do. You know, just like Pete brought up earlier, when the downtown Hammond, when the building fell, I bought it a few years later, Pete, and I built Alley Square. So that's what I did. So plan on doing the same thing here. No, you and Pete, y'all have something about buildings falling down. I'm trying to get a permit so I can build a building in downtown Hammond.
And that's in litigation.
Well, I would love to drop the litigation if you'd let me build a 3-story building.
That's not going to happen. It's not within our
Okay, well, that's why we're in court.
All right, thank you.
I would just like to make clear that as a historic district, we do not like to fine people. We try to do everything to avoid fining someone. We want people to put that money back into the property. Absolutely. That's our charge, is to preserve things. And so, no, a fine is an absolute last resort. Every ounce of leeway has been given, every chance has been given to rectify this, to secure the property. He doesn't have to restore it right now. The roof needs to be sealed, it needs to be secured. There's water intrusion. There's no telling what the damage to the building is at this point. It just needs to be secured. And that's what we've asked. We've reiterated that numerous times. It doesn't have to be restored at this moment. That can wait until you want to get through this litigation. But absolutely, securing property. We've done it with other properties. The city has had to come in and shore properties for an owner in order to get it safe, to get it not falling down. Fines don't like to be given. We want people to invest in the property. So it has nothing to do with anybody trying to stop development. That's another charge of ours, is to do that. But it doesn't mean that people can just do whatever it is they want to and stomp their feet and run to the next level. I mean, you can, it's happening. So it is what it is, but we have done nothing wrong, and the point that's in front of you right now is to decide whether our commission made a mistake in imposing these fines. It's not whether you think the fine is okay. We did what we were supposed to do, and it's your job to decide whether we did or did not.
Yes, sir, and that's the last one.
Oh, yeah, that's it. First of all, I agree with her. I think the committee does not want to fine me or any property owners. They want us to spend our money and rebuild things. And I have a track record of doing that in Hammond. So thank you for those comments. She does not, you heard her, she does not want to fine me, and neither does she.
I also said I want the building secure.
Yeah, the building is secure. We're waiting for a permit. That's all. I can't keep, I want to table it, but I'm trying to work out a solution with them. Look, Jeff Smith, I gave Jeff Smith the building. I said, what do you want me to do? Jeff came up with this idea. I said, okay. I love it, Jeff. Jeff Smith. Jeff Smith, Holly and Smith. There you go. That's not Jeff. That's not Jeff. That's Holly, Mr. Holly. But he came up with the concept.
But I don't even think you were in the historic district back then, though. So I mean,
I wasn't in the historic district.
It was moved, actually. Yeah.
Jeff came up with the idea. I said, okay. And so now I'm trying to build a 3-story building. So the only way I can go forward and make everybody happy is we just need to sit down and work something out. But I've been saying that from day one.
Page Street, Holly and Smith, and I can speak to what Jeffrey Smith designed, and it wasn't what Darrell presented to the commission. That's a fact. And if Jeffrey were sitting here today, he would tell you that. So the fact is, at the time, it wasn't in the district, but now it is. And so what was presented to the commission, I wasn't on the commission at the time, I am now, but I wouldn't have voted for it because it was not appropriate to put that building as it was designed by someone else, not us, for approval. So there's a lot here that is being said, and it's a lot that's probably being unsaid, but the fact is, this has to do with maintaining a building and making sure it doesn't deteriorate. That's what this is about. It's not about whether that building, the plan is acceptable or not. This is the bottom line is, it's got a hole in the roof. It's leaking into the building. It's not just water intrusion, it's rot. So it's time to fix it. They got to do something to stabilize it, or else we're going to lose this building, and it's part of Hammond's heritage. Bottom line.
The problem I have right now is in litigation right now, so why would somebody put a roof on something that we don't know where it's going to come out and turn out to be?
It's required.
But where?
It's required.
But they're not all, if it's not properties aren't in litigation, yeah. But I mean, if it's in litigation and the judge decides that he could do this or that or whatever, we don't know. He might say nothing. If he does, why would you put a new roof on something that is going to get either tore down or put another level on it, then you do it
historic property that requires it to be maintained and stabilized. That's part of the deal. It has to happen.
It's kind of hard whenever you're trying to get a permit and trying to do things and remodel it and do it, and you don't have one.
We have no knowledge of a permit being tried to get, okay? All we know is that the building is falling apart, and you have to do something about it.
I want to see it remodeled and put back in the commission. That's what I want to see.
And they need to stabilize it.
Before he says that, Jeff Smith did design a 3-story building. I didn't like 100% of what Jeff did. I changed it. I have a right to do that. But Jeff designed a 3-story building. Thank you.
Okay, so what he's discussing, of course, is what's in litigation. I know one thing that was brought up, and it wasn't brought up right now, but I will bring it up, is the fact that I was told that, oh no, the building is currently in the condition it was when I bought the building. So, I mean, we don't have the Riccattas here to tell us whether or not the building was in that condition, But we do have you, Sam, as the real estate agent. Can you go on record and tell us whether or not the building was in the condition it was in 2016 when you were the MSL, on the MSL?
Yeah, I sold
as
it, yeah.
agent?
Yeah, I sold it, yeah. There's no secret, it's
No.
public record.
Right.
It's public
I want
record,
to
I sold
know
it.
whether or not
It was in
the-
bad,
the-
it was in bad
it
shape
was in
back
bad
then.
shape in
It's bad, it was
2016.
bad shape. Can I finish? You asked me a
course you
question, let me get a minute if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The building was in bad shape back then. The building was in bad shape while it was open and running. No money was put in that building, and it's been in bad. It wasn't in the historic district whenever he started messing with it a long time ago. It wasn't in it. He could have tore it down. He could have done whatever he wanted to do with it. But he didn't.
But he did not.
Hold, let me, I ask you, can I finish? Don't ask something if I can't finish. And then so he had every intentions to try, from my knowledge, to go ahead and keep it historical, even though it wasn't even in a historic district. And then it became an historic district. And so he was in between all types of permitting issues and everything else. So that's where it is. So, and during all that time, they still had graffiti on these buildings all downtown. They had a building on the main drag on Cypress that just finally got tore down. That was like that for 20 years right next to Wells Fargo building. Finally got tore down. I mean, that was there forever. I never, when I was in the council there before, I never heard anything brought up to us about that, and it stayed there. So what I'm saying is, to me, it looks like there's a lot of personal, whatever it is, but it's very on Daryl Smith right now, and that's fine. I mean, you know, everybody's, you know, I don't know if it was political, maybe because he ran for mayor, I don't know, Pete, but either way, it's been very honed in on him in that building. I mean, I'd love to see it going. I'd love to see it in commission and people, there's, you know, stores wanting to come down here. It'd be nice to make some tax dollars. I mean, is it in Kip's district? Is it in your district? Yeah.
You pretty much.
Yeah. I'm sure you would like to see a nice building in your district. I mean, you know, so I mean, that's the problem. I think you need to work with him to figure out where to get it in. You're trying to find somebody to spend $3 or $4 million on something, but it's just crazy to me to think you have, like, you know, so much that comes to this city that's no fight, and then a fight on something that is actually somebody trying to invest money into, and it's a continuous fight on this stuff. It's crazy how, you know, the graffiti, I saw the graffiti, I thought was comical, because right next door, that building's shut down, ain't nobody in it. So I mean, yeah, I don't want to see graffiti on any building, but what I'm saying is, the building across the street had graffiti on while it was wide open. It was running, and it's right by the permit office. I drove by it, not a one word said about it. Other buildings.
You are incorrect with that, sir.
No, I'm telling you right now, probably before your time, because I don't think you've been on the historic board or, you know, the director for that, you know, that many years, but it's been like that for a long time. And so therefore, you know, all I'm saying is, I don't care what y'all think or your opinion of it and everything else, but at the end of the day, we need to work together on trying to get the building moving forward one way or another and get it looking nice in downtown Hammond. That's all I care about, is it looking nice in downtown Hammond and moving forward. And as far as grass and the roof, I mean, if it's in litigation, why would you put a new roof on something that you don't know exactly where is it going to fall at? That's all I'm getting at. Is it going to be deemed, you know, how the ruling of the judge is going to be? I mean, is he going to say, go for it, which way or another? Who knows? But while he's trying to get it done, what's the point of waiting another 3 months? We've already waited this long, so what does it matter putting fines on them now if they're going to get overturned or not in a little bit? It still could be backdated, so I just don't see why we're pinpointing so much on tonight imposing fines when it doesn't matter if it's today or 6 months from now. It's coming, so it'll be here before you know it. So I don't see what's the rush.
So let's talk about the roof for a second. The building that is now the seafood restaurant, beautiful restaurant next to the Crescent. Lighthouse. Roof was gone. The front wall was falling down. We didn't ask them to put the roof on it. We asked them to secure the walls. Spend the money and secure the walls. Didn't happen. We had to go in and do it ourselves, and then they had to pay for it. Same with the Tropics, same with actually the gentleman who owned the drugstore caddy corner from the radio station secured his wall when they were redoing that, remodeling it. So he doesn't have to put a roof on it. He needs to secure the building, secure the walls, make sure they don't fall down, because that triangle of a space is not going anywhere. It's not getting any bigger. So regardless of what you replace it with, it's brick now. Regardless of what you replace it with, that structure is historic. I don't agree with everything. I don't agree with the fact that if my land is across the street from historic, John Ignatius, we agree to disagree. It's just, it's historic because it's an ordinance. I'm in total denial of the fact that either you're in it or you're out of it. But that's the way it's stated. This particular situation, gentleman hadn't done anything with for a long time. That's fine. He doesn't want to do any. He has other investments. He's done well for himself. Very happy for him. Nothing political. Can't wait till he builds his building. Doesn't have to put a roof on it. Secure the walls. It's pretty simple.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to also, for transparency, you want to say, you know, that we don't look at other properties and we're only like attacking him and it's something personal. You have a council member sitting in front of you right now who owns a property, who had graffiti, boarded up windows. They were brought up for non-compliance, also brought up for violations. They were given the same exact time frame that Mr. Smith was given, 60 days to put your building into compliance before fines were going to be assessed. You know what happened? They got their building into compliance.
Thank you, Carly. I actually saw you painting the wall outside.
My husband, myself, and I painted the walls ourselves.
So
Yeah.
don't tell me
I'd
that
hope
this
so.
can't be done.
I would hope a councilwoman would have had it done before she had to get notice, being an elected official,
Hey,
being a
you know
representative of
what?
the city.
You know
But
what?
I'm glad they had to give notice. But I mean, whatever. But I mean, but
Everyone
it
is-
only started whenever you found his.
No,
But I'm
no,
just letting
no.
you know.
Everyone is treated the same.
That
Hammond
sounds
Regional
good.
Arts Center, vegetation growing on the back of the building. You know who received an email? Charles. Remove the vegetation off of the back of that building because you are in non-compliance. We do not discriminate by who owns the building. There are so many other properties that Mr. Smith owns that right now I feel so handcuffed that our commission cannot even go and say, you have violations because your brother has told me, do not contact my client.
It's called litigation. It happens with anybody. It's nothing to do with my brother, nothing to do with Daryl
All I'm
Smith.
saying
It has to do
is,
when you have a
sir-
legal case going litigation,
All
you
I'm
have
saying,
certain legal
sir-
rights to do and not to do.
Respectfully, we have been handcuffed as a commission from being able to do our job. Thank you.
I was just going to reiterate that there's nothing personal about any of this. It's a building owner that needs to take responsibility. Again, the only thing that's in front of you, there's not even a reason to discuss this. The only thing in front of you is to decide whether we did the right thing or were within our discretion to impose these fines. That's it. It doesn't matter how you feel about the building. It doesn't matter how you feel about the historic district commission, commissioners, or anything. It is simply in front of you that we did not make a mistake, or we did, in imposing these fines. We did everything by policy and procedure, ample opportunity. Again, that's the only thing in front of you. It boils down to that. So all this is all just smoke and mirrors and whatever. That's my opinion. And also there may be, I would use caution on determining whether I would recuse myself, Councilman DiVittorio, just for ethics reasons. I don't know. But anyway, so that's really all you have to vote.
If it's got anything to do with moving forward with trying to build a building, I'm gonna say no. If it's not dealing with the question at hand, I'm gonna say no. Thank you.
Sal Nicolosi. This is getting to be really a big game now, you know. I think it's like the mayor said, go in and do what's got to be done to make the building sturdy. I'm not saying put a roof on or whatever either, but until you get the legal part done, I guess that's what Daryl's going to have to do, apparently, As far as this big fine, I mean, that's pretty healthy, that fine is, and I understand people overlook different things, but I think the council would probably do what they could to rectify this, and with the mayor's help and with the, with the historic district helping, maybe we could just get this settled pretty quick.
Last thing only. This vote is whether or not the fines were assessed appropriately. We are not, at this point, because of the litigation, allowed to enforce those fines. This is merely whether or not the commission did their job and assessed fines. That is it. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Smith, 1 minute, whatever comment you have, 1 minute. 1 minute. Can I let her speak again? 1 minute.
As they've said many, many times, they don't want to fine me. They want to see me build the building. So again, I tell y'all, please consider removing the fines and let me move forward with coming up with a set of plans that I could build in downtown Hammond. That's what I'm trying to do. And I do like the 3-story concept that Jeff Smith presented to me after I paid him a considerable amount of money, maybe $40,000 or $50,000. His firm. Thank you. That's
Remember, Darrell, it's about securing a structure. Very much like your fourplexes on Pecan, that the roof has caved in from a tree that fell on it in Ida, still not repaired.
Yeah, thank you.
Still not secured.
Yeah.
The structure can be saved if you just secure the roof.
We'll work on that. Thank you, Pete. So that's all I want to do is move forward. Thank you.
All right. Pleasure of the council.
Make a motion to deny the appeal of Guys 1 LLC.
Second.
Councilman Divatario?
Abstain.
Councilwoman Gonzalez?
Aye.
Councilman Leon? Councilman Andrews?
Aye.
And just want to say, and Jesse, for the record, don't try to tell me how need to do my business or advise me anyway. I appreciate it, but don't just worry about your personal business and don't worry about mine. But I appreciate it. But I know what I need to do, what I don't need to do. But I thank you for the kindly gesture. But just worry about your personal business and not mine. Thank you.
Do we need to go to number 2 and say anything about that?
No, I think in denying the appeal, that
Okay.
solves the question of timeliness, kind of makes it moot.
Okay.
New business number 1.
A resolution authorizing the purchase and installation of cameras for the jail from or by American Integration Contractors for the sum of $36,169.83 under state contract for 400029433. Charles Barsher.
Excuse me, this is to replace all of the cameras in the jail, several of which are very old. This will replace them with new cameras. This is a state contract price. It came in just over $25,000, so that's why it's coming to the council for approval. Came in at $36,000, so asking for the council's approval. The funds would come from the police department's budget.
All right. Is there anyone from the public on this item? Anyone from the council have any questions on this item? Pleasure of the council.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Councilwoman Gonzalez.
Aye.
Councilman Andrews.
Aye.
Councilman Divatario.
Aye.
Councilman Leon.
Aye.
Question before we move forward. Where are we right now on cameras in the park, Charles?
So we have
Both. Okay.
So I can tell you we have 37 cameras among our parks. The next cameras that will be updated are the cameras around the safe haven. The grants department's actually paying for that out of its budget. The grants department manages the safe haven, so they'll be adding Actually, they'll be replacing 3 cameras, I think adding a 4th, which will cover the north side of the park. That will also be installing the digital video recorder in the safe haven, which will support the additional cameras in Martin Luther King Park. The park cameras in Clark Park have been reoriented, as the mayor indicated. There's also a plan to add 2 to 3 more cameras in that park soon. IT is in the process of upgrading networks in all of the parks to make everything more cohesive and run better. One of the issues we've had is that we've had sort of different camera systems in different parks, and that's made keeping everything up and running more difficult. So we're trying to get everything under kind of one brand, one type of architecture.
Okay. Thank you. Resolution number 2.
Let me ask you real quick, that we never had cameras in the jail before?
We do. The cameras in the jail, they were very old, so this is to replace
Okay.
those existing cameras.
Okay.
A resolution to authorize We Didn't Plan It LLC to serve, sell, or otherwise handle alcohol at the following events: Planet in the Park, June 7th and August 9th from 11 to 6 p.m. at Kate Square Park. Alec Griffith.
Hi, everybody. Alec Griffith, 209 Blackburn Road, Hammond, Louisiana, 70401. Again, just nothing new here with what we're doing. I know there's been some talk since the last meeting. I know I wasn't here at the last one, so I apologize for that. I know there's been some talk about the amendments and things to some of the waivered rules and things with the alcohol. We've been doing this event now. For the past 2 years. This is going to be our 6th event. It's free to the public, and we sell alcohol and serve alcohol at the event. In the past, I think we've done nothing to promote any type of immoral acts or promote underage drinking. We have security at the events. It's managed by a bar. Everything is ID'd and professional. So I don't see how we've contributed to any of that way for this to be denied in those senses. Also, when it comes to, I know, Mr. Andrews, you mentioned that the parks were, for children, and that's something where I could kind of play devil's advocate, I guess, on that. Doing these events in the park, and over the past couple of years, the amount of things that have been promoted in our parks that are not necessarily for children. There is a playground in the park, but the park is not a playground. So I do think that by restricting some of those things and not allowing some of these type of events to happen really pulls Hammond back in the sense of look at every city around us that has their own festival fair or something that, like, not the Holy Ghost fair, but something that like really represents the city. And some of these things are literally just kind of what we're trying to do and bring some of that to Hammond. And I do think limiting the alcohol sales at those events. Now, like you said, maybe some parks is a little bit different, but the amount of feedback and the response that we've got in Kate Square Park, being the pinnacle of downtown, obviously there's bars all over the place, but when you're coming to the park, you're not really trying to leave the park. We have bathrooms in the park. We bring everything for you to stay at this event. You do not bring food in. We have food here. It's not like you go and shop all locally and then bring it in. This is a full event that you come and get the full experience just in the park. So I do think what we're doing is good, and I do think we need to work towards the right adjustments, the right amendments to make everything right and fair across the board. But I do think that, like I said, the past 2 years, the 6th event that we've done has been nothing but great fun and brought a lot of good positive interactions to Hammond.
This is a situation where I spoke with Alex and told him that I was going to stop signing street closures and anything having to do with alcohol after 8 o'clock at night. Because my feeling is, after dark, let everyone go into the bars and restaurants and enjoy themselves. Alex changed his venue now till 6 o'clock. When he does have someone serving, we have a bar owner that runs our bar, 21 and older, has licensing, because they have to get permitting from the state to be out there, so that's all legit. If it is a question of being in parks, and this being one of our parks, we have a beautiful railroad park that we can move you to. and we have a pavilion that's almost finished that we can move you to in the future. If that's an issue where you want to have no alcohol in the parks per se, because we do have parks with issues, and if, like Kip said, you know, what we need to do, we need to be consistent. But you have done a good job. You do it the right way. And once again, I truly believe he's ending at 6. People disperse and go into the local businesses, bars, and restaurants. So I think that's the right way to do it. And I think if we change the venues, we go ahead and possibly do what Kip is saying and keep it out of the parks, because we have a lot of venues in our areas, public common space, that I think would be suitable as well.
I have been to your events in Kate Square Park, which is in my district. I think that we had a great time, and it was definitely a family affair, plus also many people without kids. Music in the park. The residents have reached out to me and said that they enjoy your event as well. I would make the suggestion that perhaps we just approve this June 7th one, and since we are working on how are we going to do this, then we revisit your August 9th date. And I think that's only fair since you're here. We won't have any decision on what Councilman Andrews has set forth before that June 7th date. And since you have a track record of doing a good job of this event, I have personally, and as being in my district, I have no problem with agreeing to this for June 7th.
Yeah, no, and the plan is definitely moving forward, and that's why there was multiple ones on the resolution, is we are trying to plan more.
Right.
We are being backed a little bit by the DDD now as a co-host for the event. So we are taking steps forward to continue to make this higher quality and the best it can be in line with the city. It's all for Hammond, so we want to be compliant, and we want to do it in the right way moving forward.
Hi, Council. I just wanted to speak into support of Alec and the work that he's done. He's an example of someone who is within our community, who puts his own time, energy, and effort into creating this a place that everyone loves to call home. So very much appreciate your consideration of approval for his June 7th event. Thank you.
Anyone else? Excuse me.
Yeah, we're getting back to the same position we were a while, the last meeting we had. You know, having alcohol being served in a city park and making money off of it or whatever. I don't know what this even consists of, but I consider it the park to be for children and families. So I would, I think we need to look at it like Carly said, you know, and review it, everything before we okay this for him. I know he needs to make plans. I'm aware of that. But as far as my concern, I think anybody bringing alcohol into the city park, in my book, it should be against the law, because they sell it on city property and making a profit off of it or whatever. So I would put it back on the back burner. Thank you.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Tina Latino, owner of Benny's Place in downtown Hammond. I am the actual business owner that we have a catering license, and we cater to this particular event and a few others. We don't just sign up with any event. Alec does, excuse me, such an amazing job, just like Carly said, that your other constituents have reported as well. It is very well organized, family-friendly event, and we really don't make that much money off of it. It is just, it brings community together. I do understand completely what you're saying about parks and children. I assume that would be brought up eventually at some point. I agree with totally, if we need to move it or relocate to a different area, that sounds very reasonable. I do want or ask that you consider for this particular event, because there is so much planned and put into it already, and this discussion did not really come up until after the date was set, that you do consider approving for this particular event, and moving forward that we would consider relocating or finding something else. And then I will save my other comments for the rest of the bar for the other bar situations moving forward. Thank you.
Okay, let me go on the record and be clear. It's nothing personal against anyone. I'm sure everyone that done had an event, I haven't heard anything bad about it. So I'm gonna just say that it's nothing personal on that level. So Andre, do we need to make an amendment to this particular one to take care?
Well, if it's to approve June 7th only, the motion can be to approve June 7th only.
Make a motion to approve the service sale or otherwise handle alcohol for June 7th.
Only. Second, only. Second.
Councilman Divatario?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gonzalez?
Aye.
Councilman Leon? Councilman Andrew?
Abstain. Go ahead and make a motion for,
You want to read it?
oh yeah, go ahead and read it, Ms. Lisa.
A resolution to grant a waiver of the City of Hammond's open container law to We Did It Planet LLC at the following events. Planet in the Park, June 7th, August 9th, from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. at K Square Park, Alec Griffith.
Again, I would just appreciate if we could, like Tina said, if we could just be able to utilize this June 7th event. We've put a lot of time and effort into the planning of this event, and we're more than happy to corroborate for however we need to moving forward to make sure that we can make this a successful event.
Okay. Is there anyone else?
Make a motion to approve the open container for June 7th only.
Second.
Councilman Andrews?
Abstain.
Councilman Divatario?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gonzalez?
Aye.
And Councilman Leon?
Resolution number 3.
A resolution authorizing the purchase of 50 portable radios for the Hammond police officers from L3 Harris for the sum of $112,050 under state contract for 4000-28992. The city's 2 Justice Assistance Grants, Project 22503 and 22504 will cover $31,890 of the purchase. The police department will cover the remaining $80,160. Charles Barshall.
So this is a project that the Grants Department and the PD have working on for several years now. To date, we've been able to replace almost 50 of their radios, almost half of their radios. We do have some grant funds to make a purchase of about $32,000 in radios. And talking with the chief, he's like, why don't we just go ahead and purchase what's left? So we got L3 Harris to give us a quote under state contract for a 50 radio purchase that'll complete the purchases of these portable radios. These are the radios that every officer carries on his person or her person. We're asking for the council's approval tonight to make that purchase.
Anyone from the public on this item? Anyone from the council? Pleasure of the council.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Councilwoman Gonzalez?
Aye.
Councilman Andrews?
Aye.
Councilman Leon?
Aye.
Councilman Divatario?
All right. Resolution number 5.
Resolution 1, supporting the submission of a $27,050 grant application to the Historic Preservation Fund Grant Program to move the application process for historic district reviews and approvals online, to make historic district resources more interactive, and to make information easier to find. And 2, supporting a $10,820 cash match from the Historic District and the Grant Match Fund. Charles Barsher.
This is a grant opportunity that the Historic District has to significantly upgrade its processes for certificate of application reviews, making them available online, also updating its website. There is a longer-term vision where a lot of this work would also kind of provide the foundation for hopefully future grant-funded work and a partnership with Southeastern. It's a 60-40 grant, which is a bit unusual, but that's how this one works. So the 40% match, the $10,820, would come, 50% of that would come from the historic district, and 50% would come from the grant match fund. So about $5,410 from each of those funds. And we're asking for the council's support.
All right. Anyone from the public on this item? Any questions or concerns from anyone from the council? I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Councilman Andrews?
Aye.
Councilman Leon? Councilwoman Gonzalez?
Aye.
Resolution number 6.
A resolution to ratify bids received for Construct Corporate Hangars Phase 1, RFB 25-13, and award a contract in the amount $686,376.40 to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, Harper Metal Building Services, pending concurrence from the State Capital Outlay Section. Charles Barsha.
This is one that I think we're all very excited about. I know the mayor's particularly excited about this. Airport director's very excited. I'm excited because we've been working on this for quite a while. This actually started with the capital outlay grant several years ago, back in I think 21, 22. We've had a couple of state appropriations that Representative Muscarella was able to add to our funding for this project. We opened bids last week, and we're very delighted that the lowest bid, including the additive alternates, so this would be for 5 hangars that the airport would own and be able to rent, came in within budget. So we're asking the council to approve moving forward with the project. Because the capital outlay grant is involved, we'll seek concurrence in the award from the capital outlay section, but then we should be able to issue a contract and get these hangars constructed.
Once again, we'd like to thank Nikki Muscarella for spearheading this.
Okay. Anyone from the public have any questions on this item? Anyone from the council? Pleasure to council.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Councilwoman Gonzalez?
Aye.
Councilman Andrews?
Aye.
Councilman Leon?
Aye.
Reports, Mayor.
Saturday, June 7th, Zamari Park, we'll be having a youth fishing rodeo between 8 and 1. Please come on out and enjoy. Bring children, grandchildren, and come enjoy the day, please.
Okay. Charles?
And what we've got going up on the screen right now is what I presented to the council with the budgets at the last council meeting. I'm sure Zach's trying to get everything to line up. This was a comparison of our current rates, which are to the left, and our proposed rates, which are in the center. And then the last column shows the change in the cost. For the council and the public, this is all driven by 2 factors. One, the city has been subsidizing the cost of garbage collection for the last few years. We're currently charging customers $14.08 for twice-a-week garbage collection, when the actual cost of the city is closer to $23. So the city's been subsidizing $9 plus. The water and sewer rates have not been significantly updated in many years. We had a $1 increase back in, I think, 2016 to the user fee. As part of one of the conditions of us accepting water sector program funding, which is that $5 million grant that we got, that we're supplementing with ARPA funds, that we're doing all of this sewer rehab work in the city right now. One of the conditions of that was that we allow the state to perform a sewer and water rate study, and that we comply with the results of that. I think we've known for a while that our rates were very low and probably needed to increase. I think we're somewhat pleased that the rate increases that are proposed are not that significant. So basically, if you're the lowest paying customer in the city right now for water, sewer, and garbage collection, you would see an increase of about $15.84. That's again for the lowest paying customers. Our seniors that are on fixed income, some of our lower income families. Currently, you're paying $29.08 for those services. Your new bill would be about $44.92. And that's if we go by what the cost of the current garbage collection is, around $23 a month, and what the rate study required. I will note that one of the things the rate study did do is propose a rate increase on sewer, which is actually a bit less than our historic rate. Our historic rate for sewer has been twice our water rate. So if you paid $1.50 per 1,000 gallons for water, you paid $3 per 1,000 gallons for sewer. With the rate study, they're recommending an increase in the water rate to $2.89 per 1,000 gallons. But instead of doubling that, they're only recommending an increase of $5.07 for sewer. This council could, of course, increase that. We could historically double it. But for right now, we're going by the recommendations of the state and for the water and sewer. And again, for garbage, going by what the current cost is. The last billing was $22.75. Varies a little bit for garbage based on the number of users. We have a lot of properties in Hammond that are more seasonal in terms of university students and whatnot. We'll be prepared to talk more on this. I'll be prepared to talk more on this at the budget work session on Friday. But as I think we alluded to when we presented the budget to the council at the last meeting, that budget is based on revenue projections from what you see in the proposed rates column. If the council were to choose not to adopt, for example, the garbage collection fee, which is entirely at the discretion of the council, we would need to remove approximately $800,000 in revenue from the budget. So those are capital projects, street improvements, water and sewer improvements, park improvements. Yes, this is, as Mayor is saying, the charter also states that we need to be self-sufficient. Increasing these revenues as required to meet the current cost and per the rate study, the water sewer rate study, gets us closer to a balanced budget, which I know is one of the mayor's goals. By the time he leaves office, he wants us to be a fully balanced budget where we're not spending more than we're taking in. We've got some reserve funds that we've relied on in the past to cover some of those years where we've kind of spent a little more than we maybe could or should have. The water and sewer rates, we are obligated to increase. Not increasing those rates will mean giving back the $5 million grant that we received. Could also jeopardize some of our loans that the city has taken out in years past. We've got about $7 million in water and sewer, actually sewer improvement loans. So at a minimum, we need to increase the water and sewer rates. And the recommendation from the administration would be to also increase the garbage collection fee so that it covers the actual cost of garbage collection. We're hopeful that the revenues will be sufficient that by about mid-year, we may actually be able to look at our capital outlay projects, and those that are water and sewer related may actually be able to be paid for with this revenue as they should be, rather than with state sales tax as they have been. And that would potentially free up sales tax revenue for other types of capital projects. Again, this is something that I know going back 6 years or so, the administration and the council have talked about doing. We're just at a point now where we're kind of having to do it. No one likes to pay more, but we're hoping that the increases are as small as they can be. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to try to answer those now, or.
We're gonna have to do all this again on Friday.
Yes, yeah, so.
Giving that review on that, and as Councilwoman Gonzalez stated, we will be looking at this again on Friday. Thank you, Charles. Any other reports?
Just our budget work session, which is published online. Did we publish it? Or did we do that?
I know.
I don't remember if we're supposed to.
It's a public meeting, so we want to be sure that we
do 24 hours before the meeting.
post it wherever the meeting's going to be.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we'll post that.
That's Friday?
Yeah. Just so if anybody wants to come. Stan, are you coming?
Right here. Yeah. All day. Start at 8:30. Yeah.
30 a.m.
Can I get a motion to adjourn? Meeting adjourned.
Yeah, it will.